right, a href equals this, that, this thing. Okay. All right. On the CSS tab, set all hovers to have no text decoration. So a hover text decoration. All right, and then none. All right. So a hover text decoration none. Set the first link to the color CDB. All right. So a first child to the color set the third link a nth child 3 to the color all right, looking good. Review, I hate reviews. Oh wait, what was that? All right, 200 exercises. Now that's a cool badge. Multiple selectors. Remember how to reach selectors nested inside others? If you have a paragraph inside a div that's inside another div, you can get it. You can get to it like this: div p. This will style all paragraphs nested inside two divs. If you have adjusted your browser zoom, test involves blah blah blah. Okay, save and submit code. Whoops. Give the paragraphs inside the list items tags a font of 30 px. All right. LIP font size. All right, speaking of which, those sound like great examples. On the HTML tag, create an H3 header and a paragraph. Let's see. On the HTML tab, create an H3 header and a paragraph. H3, header, H3. Bro, how are you just going to distract me like that, man? And a paragraph. I am not distracted by this foolishness. Give them both a class of fancy, H3. Which one was the class? Class equals fancy. I believe the class is the dot. The ID is the hashtag. Alright, on the CSS tab, set the fancy class to have a font family of cursive and a color of violet. Okay. Dot fancy. This thing. Font family. Cursive. And a color of violet. Alright, 2 more lessons left and we got this. Alright, add another P paragraph to the HTML document. We'll just go ahead and duplicate this one. Give it an ID of serious. And it's the ID of serious, not a class of serious. ID of serious. Alright, and then go to the style sheet and then make the ID of serious font family Courier and a color of this hexadecimal value. What is that? 8C, 8C, 8C. Alright, save and submit. Good. Start the next lesson. Add a third paragraph to the HTML document. So, third paragraph. On the CSS tab, use the nth child to give it a font size of 26px. So, we're going to do p nth child 3 font size 26px, and this should do it. Save and submit code. Oops, try again. Did you give your third paragraph a font size of 26px? Alright. So, we are done with CSS selectors. That's going to be it for this video. Let's go ahead and tweet this shit out. Let your friends know how much better you are than they are. And it looks like we're wrapping up just in time to check text messages and whatnot. So I'll be seeing you guys on the next video. Let's see how far we've made it percentage-wise. We should be pretty close to the end here. Let's see. We're at 75%, so we should be able to knock this out today. And yeah, thanks for you guys that are still sticking with me, and those of you that are... Alright guys, I took a quick little break there. We're at 75%. Alright, so let's keep it moving. It says save and submit code. It's drawing a bunch of these circles here. The class friend, family, and enemy all have the border radius turned on. So start next lesson. Divide and conquer. Create at least 3 divs in the HTML tab. So div. This is a div. Okay, let's do this 3 times. Alright, start the next lesson. Start the next lesson. Style those divs. Good. Now let's give our divs a basic look. We'll use classes in a minute to change the appearance of our divs, depending on whether a given person is a friend, family member, or nefarious nemesis. We've started the div selector for you with a little positioning magic. Display inline block and margin left 5 pixels. We'll explain these in the next lesson. Please note, if you've adjusted your browser's zoom, tests involving height and width will not work. Alright, so style sheet CSS. What are our instructions? Give them a height and width of 100 pixels. So height 100px, width 100px, border radius 100%. Alright, and that's going to make them round. And then we're going to do border 2px solid black. Okay, it's not actually doing anything. Can't figure out why. Oh, there we go. I forgot a semicolon. Alright, so it works, but our text is not wrapped around in there, so we'll probably be fixing that on the next one. Save and submit. Start next lesson. We're almost halfway through. Now we need to add our classes. We'll start with 3, friend, family, and enemy. So on the index tab, set your divs to any classes you like. Just be sure to use each of the above classes at least 1 time. So div class equals, quote, friend, div class equals family, enemy. Okay. Next lesson. I bet we're going to be adding styles next. Yep. Okay, so dot friend is going to have a border that is 2 pixels dashed and 0, 0, 8, 1, 2, 3. Then we have dot family, this thing, and then border 2 px dashed in this color 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, close, and then enemy dot enemy. All right, so we've got a green, a blue, and a red circle. Save and submit. All right, way to go. Start next lesson. So, no ID, no entry. Excellent. Now let's create 2 IDs, best friend and arch nemesis. Assign the first ID to a div in your friend class. That's right, you can have a tag with a class and an ID. And the second div to a div in your enemy class. So, ID best friend. Arch nemesis. Alright, start next lesson. So, give your best friend a border of 4px solid and your arch nemesis a border of 4px solid. Alright, so we're going to use the little pound symbol and then best underscore friend. We're going to give them a border of 4px solid hashtag 00C957. Don't forget the semicolon. And arch nemesis. Alright, so this should make us pass. Yep, start next lesson. So, great job. You've created a map of people you know that's differentiated based on different CSS classes. Feel free to go ahead and change any of the CSS you've used so far, including colors, borders, and border radii. Make it your own. Hit save and submit code when you're done experimenting. I'm not going to experiment. Alright, so we finished this one, sorting your friends, HTML5. Let's go ahead and tweet that shit and wrap it up and go on to the next one. Alright, what percentage are we at? 80%. Oh man, I can almost taste it. Alright guys, I'll see you in the next video. Alright, what's up guys? We're at 79% HTML and CSS. I can finally taste it. Now we're finally going to get into some real coding. Hopefully. Who knows? Alright, let's click continue. Hopefully the bandwidth is forgiving today. Alright, so 1 out of 25. This is the one that I was fearing. 25 exercises. Good God. Alright, shake it out. Alright, so, alright, now that you know all about CSS, it's time to learn the last but certainly not the least major piece of the puzzle. Positioning. My favorite part. Literally my favorite part of HTML. Controlling the position of HTML elements allows you incredibly fine control over how your pages look. No longer will your divs sit directly on top of one another unless you want them to. As we mentioned, elements populate the page in what's known as the CSS box model. Never understood what it was, never needed it. Each HTML element is like a tiny box or container that holds the pictures and text you specify. Check out the image in the result tab. This is what the box model looks like. We'll cover the details of margins, borders, and padding in the next section. See for yourself. Use the universal selector to draw a 1-pix dashed border of hex color, what's that, blue, around every HTML element. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to do this for every HTML element. We're going to open it up. We're going to do border, this one, and then 1px dashed, and then the color 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And is it CSS where we need this after every line? Hopefully. All right, so what is this? What is this? Oh, okay. Known to be slow. Whatever. Eat a dick. Save and submit code. Yep. This should be good. All right, start a lesson. Man, we're going now. Taking up space. All right, so none of these are mouse overable. Cool, right? Each HTML element gets its own box to live in. As you saw, the outermost box of each element went all the way across the page. This is why until now your HTML elements have been sitting on top of one another. By default, they take up the full width of the page. We can change all of this with the first positioning property. We'll learn the display property. We'll learn about 4 possible values. Block, this makes the element a block box. It won't let anything sit next to it on the page. It takes up the full width. Inline block makes the element a block box, but will allow other elements to sit next to it in the same line. This makes the element sit on the same line as another element, but without formatting it like a block. It only takes up as much width as it needs, not the whole line. None. This makes the element and its content disappear from the page. Let's get cracking. Set the display of all divs to block. All right. So we're going to do display block. All right. Save and submit code. All right. All right, inline block. Change the display property of all your divs so the value is now inline block. I could have just added the word inline. I'm such a tard. Okay, start next lesson. I'm really excited to start learning JavaScript. Did you see that? Your divs all moved onto the same line. Alright, so set all your divs to have a display value of inline. Okay, let's see what that one does. Let's just do this time. Whoa, what happened here? That was a weird feature. It's probably because there's nothing in the divs. The good news is inline places all your elements on a single line. The bad news is that it doesn't maintain their boxness. As you saw, all your divs got swished to the smallest possible width. Set all the divs to the none value. This is good if you turn your div to display none. It's good for like whenever you have a menu or something like that. Say you click a certain button and a menu pops up around the mouse. That's what that would be good for. Okay, sketching it out. Now that you understand more about the display property in the box model, we can delve into the details of how each individual box behaves. Check out the diagram in the Result tab. As you can see, each box is made of layers, from the outermost to the innermost. The margin is the space around the element. The larger the margin, the more space between our element and the elements around it. Then we can adjust the margin to move our HTML elements closer to or farther from each other. The border is the edge of the element. It's what we've been making visible every time we set the border property. The padding is the spacing between the content and the border. We can adjust this value with CSS to move the border closer to or farther from the content. The content is the actual stuff in the box. Alright, study the diagram in the Result tab until you're comfortable. Oh. Man, this is one of those gimmies. Where's those go-go pills at, man? Goddamn. I gotta open a new bottle every time because I can't find the one that's already open. So for those of you that are wondering if I need some type of intervention or something, it's just this stuff called arginine, which is it's great for your heart. and lowers your blood pressure, and it makes you really energetic. So I like it. It's really fun during bike season. So anyway, margin. Let's start with our margins. Adjusting our margins not only moves our element relative to the other elements on the page, but also relevant to the walls of the HTML document. For instance, if we take an HTML element with a specific width, such as our div in the editor, and set its margin to auto, this tells the document that to automatically put equal left and right margins on our element, centering it on the page. Alright, let's set the margin to auto. Now, margins are something I don't really have much experience with. That's kind of cool, actually. Let's try and see what happens if we throw some pixels on it. Yeah, it's only 10 pixels on one side. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Let's start with our margins. Adjusting our margins not only moves our element relative... I gotta quit reading all of these to you guys. Alright, try it out. Set our div's margin property to auto to center our div on the page. I believe we already did that. Start next lesson. Margin top, right, bottom, left. Okay, so you can do like margin... Oh, okay, like this. Okay, I was about to explain this to you guys. This is the same thing as this. So it goes up, right, bottom, left. It's kind of confusing, but think of it like a clock. Up, right, bottom, left. So that's the way it goes. Let's see what they want us to do in this one. Remove our div's margin auto on the CSS tab using whichever method you like best. Give it a top margin of 20 pixels, a right margin of 50 pixels, bottom margin of 10 pixels, and a left margin of 5 pixels. Change your div's border to 4 pixels wide and solid, but with the hex color red. Okay. It's kind of a gaudy looking box, but whatever. Who am I to judge? Padding. Alright, so padding is kind of like the same thing as margins, except it's like the space around the object rather than the space next to the object, if that makes sense. So select them all in one declaration like this: padding, value, 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 value. So go ahead and use your preferred method to give your div padding of 40 pixels on all sides. So if I'm correct, okay, we need to add that semicolon, but we could do padding, and since it's on all sides, we could just do 40 pixels. And that should be... Yep, that's the same thing as doing 40, 40, 40, 40. Negative values. Did you see that? Your div got huge. That's because the background color is the same for the content and the padding. So here we go. Give your div a margin top of negative 20 pixels to see what happens. Alright, it just shifts it up and off the screen, it looks like. Technically, this is incorrect because I already told it up, down, left, right. It should have just returned back to where it was. So we've put a div for you to use on the HTML tab. On the CSS tab, give the div a border of 1 pixel solid black. So we're going to type div border 1 pixel solid black. Give it a background color, of, set its top margin to, okay, margin 10 pixels, 5 pixels, 5 pixels, 50 pixels, Oops, I keep forgetting the semicolons. All right, and then set the top padding to, let's see, padding top to 0 pixels. Oh, it's not going to be padding top. It's just going to be padding 0 pixels, 30 pixels, 0 pixels, 10 pixels. Yes, I did. Oh, it wants us to do it individually. All right, so padding top, 0 pixels. It's going to be this. Padding right, 30 pixels. Padding bottom, padding left. All right, and this is the way they wanted it. All right, floating. This is something that I use to shift items from the left to the right, kind of like little title bars up here. Like if I have a username right here and then like an envelope and settings right here, I use float to get the divs to float on either side. So, okay, so we know how our individual elements are constructed, but how do we determine where they go on the page? One way is to use floats. When you float an element on the page, you're telling the web page, I'm about to tell you where to put this element, but you have to put it into the flow of other elements. So you can think of an HTML page as sort of like a C and float. Oh, that's cute. All right, let's get started. Set your div's float property to right. Ooh, I can feel that little pill kicking in. And by kicking in, I mean I can feel it crawling up my throat. Div float. Div gloat. Oh, wait. Float right. Yep. Left. Interesting enough, I don't see much float center these days. I don't even know if it exists. As you may have already guessed, we can use floating elements to naturally divide our pages into different sections. Try it. Jesus, I just pulled like a freaking mutant hair out of my head. That's what I get for growing hair. Ugh. Oh my god, that thing was like a tree trunk. All right, so set your div to float to the right and set your p to float to the left. All right, whatever. Div float right. Float left. All right. It's like a cool little article type thing there. All right, so unfortunately, we sometimes mix large floating elements with non-floating ones, and elements do end up on top of each other. See your footer, the blue bit between the two columns? It's stuck back there because we haven't told it something very important to clear the other elements on the page. If you tell an element to clear left, it will... Oh, I didn't even know about this one. I legitimately did not know that clear even existed. If you tell an element to clear left, it will immediately move below. There's that creepy neighbor again. Hang on one second. Alright. So, if you tell an element to clear left, it will immediately move below any floating elements on the left side of the page. It can also clear elements on the right. If you tell it to clear both, it will get out of the way of elements floating on the left and right. The syntax is what you're used to. Clear, right, left, both. So we're going to tell the div with the ID footer to clear both. Okay, let's find that footer. Let's go clear. Well, let's try left first. Clear left. All right, that's